Viewer discretion is kindly advised. So, sexual abuse affects people long after the moment. I am choosing to speak about this because silence protects harm, not the people. Hi guys, this is Patsy Githinji, and it is yet another amazing episode of That's How Patsy Sees It. Before I start, I hope you guys have been loving the episodes that I have released. I am trying to the best of my ability to give y'all premium content, and we will be improving by the minute, I promise. This is not empty promises like the government's. Indeed, the things are going to be done and things are going to happen, and I believe that you are also going to be a supporter of this channel. Jumna nipenda muriega. That means how are you in my mother tongue. I hope you guys have actually been keeping well. This is the Sexual Abuse Awareness Month, the month of April, and this is something that I was talking about on my live stream the other day. And I was saying that for the longest time, if you asked me before 2023, I would have told you, hi, I have never gone through sexual abuse. What do you mean? And this is because for the longest time, if there was no penetration involved, for lack of a better term, more often than not, they will tell you it didn't happen. Yeah. If you didn't report, they will say it didn't happen. If you don't have proof, they will say it didn't happen. And I feel like these three were literally, if you can't explain yourself coherently what really happened, it did not happen. And I feel like these are the four things that actually happened to me. And I felt silenced, I felt unseen, I felt invalid. But at the end of the day, I still felt disrespected. I still felt defiled. Because all this happened before I was 20. Yes. All this actually happened before I was 20. And let's start. So why now? I think I have explained earlier. It is the fact that you don't have the language, and it is until something happens, just like my introduction looked like. It is until something happens and it clicks. Wow. I don't know if you guys realize, but there was a time last year when people were really talking about sexual abuse in high school. Yeah. And I also talked about it because I saw it happening to other people. And I feel like the only thing that sort of kept me safe is because maybe because I'm trans, and maybe because I'm not into women, because the perpetrator was a woman. I feel like that is the only thing between me and safety. It is not because the rest deserved it. It is not because, I don't know, because I feel like the level of vulnerability between those people and I feel like we were just the same. We were just from the same fabric. It is not like they were morally wrong or whatever. It is just because at that particular time they were the easier target. And of course, even then, when people were talking about it, the biggest question was, why are you saying right now? Why didn't you say Kitambo? And people forget that you were a minor then. And if I could literally not even explain what my identity was all about and why I was having a crisis and why I could not even describe dysphoria as dysphoria. I didn't have the words. All I knew is I was caught up in a national boys' school, and that was it. I felt caged, I felt misplaced. So yes, now come and tell me to vocalize and put it into words and into perspective that I was being sexually abused. Excuse you? Excuse you? And especially when there was no penetration, there was no proof. So yes, why now? Because yeah, yeah, and also most importantly, because it's also the Sexual Abuse Awareness Month, and as an advocate, as a human rights defender, I'm just like, it is very possible that when the vocal people are silent, then those that are not necessarily vocal could think that their cases are isolated. So this is for showing solidarity. This is also for creating awareness in case something similar happens to someone else. They will be able to point it out. And actually, see, I have a tattoo for it. So yes. And when I was when I was drawing this tattoo, nikiweka tattoo. When I was drawing this tattoo, I didn't actually like, I didn't have my fingertips on exactly what it was I wanted to like talk about. But somehow my instincts just told me, do this, do this, do this. And then I realized it's about the silence. It's about the silence. And it's crazy. It's crazy and it's scary. It's scary. It's really, really scary. And especially now that I'm raising a girl, I feel like now my conscience is more aware, and I'm just so cautious about everything. And this even makes me to some extent even more sensitive, and it's a lot. So let me talk and say that if you think harder, if you just like flash back your mind harder, I am sure you're going to think of a creep. Think about it. Did you think of anything? It doesn't have to be super conspicuous, but it's the subtle things. It's the very subtle things. And if I tell you some of the situations I am thinking about are actually situations that happened like over 21 years ago, it sounds crazy. And I'm going to go right into it. So the very first situation is, there was this we used to do French beans, kitambo. We used to do French beans. And so we would like the harvesting would be done, and then we would take it to the it was like a packaging plant where like they would be washed, packed, sorted, and then like lorries would come and pick them. And so on this day, that is what was happening. So there was this friend, a classmate of mine. The dad was like a broker. Yeah, the dad was like a broker. And I remember my dad and mom, and this is why I don't trust just random adults with your child. So my mom and dad wameingia kwa like the shade, they are sorting and everything. So wameniacha na hawa watu. And see, in the past, everyone, it was assumed that adults are more responsible. And so, and no wonder they would say, oh, it is the work of a whole village to bring up a child. Don't dare with mine. Sitaki wenda wazimu. So I was left among this group of men. Shit. And these men start like saying sexual stuff. They start saying sexual stuff, and the whole time, this man is looking to see if I get an erection. And the reason why I can point it out right now is because it happened again. This time around with so kulikuwa na there was certain neighbors, and back in the day like they had this shamba boy, and this how shamba boy, instead of having porn from the internet back in the day, because people didn't have access to phones, people would have magazines. I don't know if any of you know that there would be magazines, and like it would be magazines with like porn story times. Yeah. And so like it's literally, and so he would bring them, and like showing my friends. They were like way older than me then. They were older than me. And so like he would like show them. And right now, because I don't really have like a vivid memory of what the intention was, I'm just wondering, what, after he showed them, then what? You know, showing them as it is already problematic. Why is he showing small girls? And so later on, he also started what that other man was doing. Like saying very sexual stuff, provocative stuff, to see if I get a what? And that is when I'm just like, and believe me, I didn't think it's anything I was to tell my dad or my mom. Yes. And I didn't have strict parents. And so if there are people that I can say were close to me, because I'm sure this video could make people to start dragging my parents. If there are people that were close to me, if there was anyone that was ready to listen and is still ready to listen until now, it is my mom and dad. And this is where I get to the point where I call upon all parents. I feel like before anything, before this, I'll buy private parts, before teaching your child that, the first thing you should empower your child with is that any adult that is approaching you and telling you something or doing something to you and telling you to keep it a secret, come and report. First thing, come and report, because I feel like that is the gap they take advantage of. That is actually the gap they take advantage of. Any adult doing something to you and they tell you to keep it a secret, njoo uniambie, come and tell me. Because as a former child, that is something I regret, that I did not tell my mom about it. And I don't know what happened. But suddenly I feel like maybe someone told him that he would get into trouble or whatever. But then I don't remember that happening again. And probably that was the distance between me and being groomed to be a sexual predator. Now, the third time I can say I am an adult legally. I have a very like major issue with the fact that 18 years is pronounced as the legal age for consenting, when in real sense at 18 years, some people are still in high school. At 18 years, your frontal lobe is not anywhere. Like, so how are you consenting without your fully developed brain? Make it make sense. And so anyway, at 19, we are in this event. I'm not going to mention where. And after the event, I performed at the event. And then there was an after party And because I was not a drinker, like we are seated outside with my friend. this guy passes. And when I say I feel like I was dumb and naive, not to blame myself, but just to say the situation as it was then. This guy passes, and the first thing he does is akanifanya hivi. You know, the kutoa mtu cobweb. And so he does that the first time. And for whatever reason, I don't get triggered. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I feel like, what? Because right now you can't do that. Sijui mikono yako imetoka wapi. Plus you're drunk. So probably yuck. So he gets inside. As he's leaving, he does that again. But now this time I make a face. I'm like, now I'm now getting irritated. And it's like, I don't know you, so why do you think you can do that? And the background story is this was a very it was a patsy-phobic space. I want to say that because I was the only trans person then. And so I was just wondering, I really get like people of your gender really like even showing any sort of friendliness towards me. So what's up? And so when he did that second time, now he came back and he was just like, hi, my name is this and this. And like we start talking. And then when we start talking, a group of guys, his friends who I recognize, also passes. And they tell him, let's go. This is where I know this might have been staged and you will know why. And then he tells me, oh, because we are still catching up, let's go and get something. We are going to get these guys drinks and then come back. And then he tells my friend, actually, you just, that is the other red flag. You can just sit there. I'm bringing your friend back. And I was just like, fine. And for whatever reason, I don't leave my luggage behind because I was carrying a bag. I don't leave my luggage behind. I leave with my luggage. And I feel like these are some of the things that happen in your subconscious, and the abuser actually think you are cooperating or you are saying yes to their advances. So we start driving and they're, chit-chatting. I am just very quiet. Remember, I am just very quiet. It got to a point, he slowed the car and these guys jump out. He closed the doors, jump out, close the door, and he starts driving off. And so we are two of us in the car. So I'm wondering what is happening. What is happening? And my heart is beating. So we drive. It's an urban town. And so to get a dark corner, we really drove for a moment because that is what he was looking for, a dark place. And so when we got somewhere, we call them tours, and parked. And then reached out his hand and started touching my thighs. And so I did this. So I am clearly resisting. By now I am very scared because I don't know what could happen. And I think by now, no. Then when I did that, he reaches out and kisses me. And I say, stop. This is where now things start to feel a little bit tensed. Because now already he has seen that I am resisting. And then immediately, I don't know what tells him to tell me, I know your director. And I know that you have agreed that he's the one who is going to write your story and tell it on stage, which is not even true. We had never had such a conversation with my director. And then on top of that, he also says, I am a journalist. And all this was not to say that I am interested. So you have kissed me, you are touching my thighs, and all this is you in your journalist element trying to get information from me. Apparently, he had been following me around, clearly stalking, and he wanted to write my story. And this was the part where he was supposed to learn about my sexuality. And I was just like, So I said, yes, he's going to write my story, and I don't think I want anyone else to capture it. He says, fine. And he starts now driving back now to where my friend was. When we got there, boys and girls, this is where shit hits the fan. Because tell me why, when he alights, and again, I am admitting, maybe I was slow or whatever, when he was alighting, he locks me in the car. I don't throw a tantrum. I don't scream. I don't like knock his windows down. I just sat there, paranoid, scared, confused. And by the way, immediately he did that. The first thing I said, I don't know why, wasn't I want to go back to my friend. I said I want to go home. I don't know why. I was staying with my aunt then. I want to go home. And I felt dirty at this point. And then, so now we've gotten there. He's locked me inside. And he was gone like for almost 3 hours. He was gone for almost 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. Because it was around to something. And by the time he's coming back, like you can already see the morning sun. And so when he comes back with 2 other people, a male and a woman. And the next thing I say again is, I want to go home. I want to go to Langata. That is what I said. And he was just like, fine. This is the second time he's saying, fine, nakupeleka. And because the first time I said, I want to go, just let me like leave. Let me leave. And I'm just like, what is happening? So then he tells us that he wants to drop the lady first. And he makes it, I don't know if this is the language abusers use to sort of make you hang in there. Because he's making promises every other minute. So he's saying, guys, tuende to drop so and so. Let's go and drop so and so. And then go and drop Patsy. And I'm just like, okay, I am well within the radar. I don't mind. After the lady was dropped, because she was super drunk, by the way, the next thing I remember is we are on Mombasa Road. And now I'm wondering, mahali tuko, Mombasa Road, like which is the easiest route kwenda Langata? And then starts driving. But they're super drunk, by the way, driving carelessly. So I am scared that I am going to lose my life qua accident, or I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know this person. That is the next thing. I don't know this person. I do not know this person. By the way, I don't know this person. I came like kumjua later on. Ndio nilimjua. So then we dropped the second person because there was there was him, 2 men, actually, a lady and like Sasa Mimi. Yes, actually I remember. So when we dropped the lady, now it was the 2 guys plus him plus me. So now this is why it was becoming even more scary. So we got somewhere, one of them alight. And then we like got somewhere, and clearly this is the parking lot. Parked the car, and then he said, Patsy, shuka. Patsy alight. Hey. Ushaiswetaga. So now I'm taking orders. Because now, one, I don't know where I am. And so we got there. And then very drunk, both of them. I have not, remember I am sober, so it makes it even worse. One of them sleeps there. And then he tells me, if you feel like sleeping, come to the bedroom. Yes. And so I sit there. And so different things. What do I do? My bag is like in the car. And so of course by now it's around 6:40-ish. And so by the time it was 7, the person who was sleeping there woke up. Do you know the first thing he said? Do you know the first thing he said to me? Kwani huna kwenu, usitoke uende? And in my head, I'm just like, this is what I wanted to do from the fucking get-go of this conversation. That is what I wanted to do. And so I get to the bedroom and then I tell now the person, I want to leave. And this is now the next stage where I think they try to sort of make you feel guilty and to sort of emotionally manipulate you. So he took the key, akanifanyia hivi. And so namuuliza, I can't even remember where the car is. And then I was just like, you know what? I will take it. So I went, took my bag, and then came back, nikamletea kifunguo. I left. Luckily, I found a bike, and then nikamwambia, take me to the nearest stage to town. This is where I realized I am in a place called Embakasi. I didn't know. So that happened, and then I got home, and immediately I remember I text my friend, and she's the only one I've actually she's the only one with the full details, like who it was. So I tell my friend, I tell her what happened, and she's like, what do you want us to do? And so the first thing I did is, the first thing self-stigma told me is that this person was going to turn everyone against me. And guess what? It was on Friday, and so I went home on Saturday morning, Sunday. On Monday, when I'm coming to school, as I'm coming to school, I realized that apparently the story has already been told, and allegedly, I am the one who seduced him. So a 19 years old has seduced a 30-something, or maybe a 20-something. I don't even know alikuwa how old by then. And I was just like, you know what? Okay. And this escalates further because I feel like what informed the next events is actually courtesy of this. Because I remember it was after that, I then started realizing that some people are actually being very like, there is some sort of hatred. They are being very hateful. Yes, they're being very hateful in like the microaggressions started becoming like a norm. And then later on, I actually realized when they went for the festivals, this is actually, it's almost like an exclusive. When they went for the festivals, I was the topic of discussion, and all of them were apparently saying, hatutaki mashoga, we don't want queer people in our club. And how I got to hear this is not even from anyone from the school to say that it was hatred. It was somewhere from a very different institution, and this person would point out like specific characters, describing them by their physique. And I was just like, that is so and so, that is so and so, that is so and so. And I was just like, you know what? That is when I took a bow. And the next decision was I stopped schooling there. I disengaged from the drama club because that is where I was mostly involved in. And this is the reason why I usually say in high school I was bullied. But the bullying in high school was an understatement compared to what I went through in college. And the silencing reoccurs again. And so this is where you actually realize there is sort of, they use a similar script more often than not. They use a similar script. And when I'm telling this story, and without mentioning the characters, for example, it is just because I feel like I decided to move on past it then. I might as well just move on completely. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the fact that that happened, and awareness needs to be created around that. And this is something that actually informs my perspective when it comes to certain things, even including how I raise my daughter. And yeah. Yes, so that's it. What helped healing? What helped healing? I feel like I used the most unhealthy things like escapism, like for example, distancing myself from the scene. And so I did not necessarily handle that or tackle it from psychosocial support POV. It was just from a point of it is out of sight, out of mind. What is the next thing? I went to therapy the better part of 2023, and I want to say this is where I actually named some of the wounds that I was suffering, some of them that I didn't know existed. There were certain wounds that I didn't know existed, childhood wounds, and kumbe they were very present. And no wonder I was very irritable. I was always on the edge, and you're just like, is it my coffee intake? Is this even normal? And then the next thing, the first thing is that, the second thing, and the third thing is even talking about it. Yeah, even talking about it. Because I remember during the therapy sessions, I used to like sort of break down in the middle of it all. And the feeling of dirty, like it really lingers. It lingers, especially if you are invalidated, especially if you are, if people weaponize that, whatever happened to you, to say, you got whatever you deserved, kind of thing. So yeah. But otherwise, healing is still happening. Healing is still happening. My message to survivors is the need to talk to someone is not, it's not absolute. Yeah? It is not cast on stone that when you go through such an experience, it is mandatory that you speak to someone, and especially people you know. If anything, I prefer going to therapists who are very neutral people that don't even know you. Because as we know, we have people that are walking flasks. They are busy looking for tea. The next thing is your story is valid, and it is not your fault that you are not responsible for someone else's sexual decisions. And the next thing is, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. And I'm sure there are many of us that believe you. The system might fail you, but we believe you. I would have wanted to sit here and give, the toll-free numbers, but something has happened to my friend in the recent past, and it was not a very cute encounter trying to get help from these particular numbers. And so when I have numbers that can actually be relied on, I'm going to let you guys know. As for now, please look out for those safe avenues. Therapy, your safe and brave spaces. Get your children to trust you. Remember, remind your children that if any adult is doing something to them, doing something with them, or telling them something and insisting that it becomes a secret, they are supposed to report to you immediately. I hope you guys are loving the conversations. So far, you are seen, you are loved. This is Patsy Gidenji, and that is how Patsy sees it.